Okay, so we're going to solve question 8 from test number 10. And let's go ahead and get started. So 8 says, when someone repeats the narrator's phrase, greatest athlete in the history of Wequakic High, line 55, you can do 6. The main effect is to what? So to solve this question, what we have to do is we got to go back to line 55 and 56, obviously, and we want to check out what is he saying when he's talking about Wequakic High. Right? What's the point of this here? So we go back here, and basically the situation is we have Swede saying goodbye to the narrator. He says, "You bet, take it easy, Skip." And then the narrator says, "Remember me to your brother." We laughed, we parted, and then some unknown character is saying to me, well, the greatest athlete in the history of the Aquatic High called you Skip." And he goes on to say, "I know, I can't believe it, etc., etc." He felt wonderfully singled out. So we have to figure out sort of what's the purpose here of saying that he's the greatest athlete in the history of Wequakic High? What is the effect of it? And beforehand, really, the way to solve this question correctly is we need to recognize that this is being used sort of in a tongue-in-cheek, humorous manner. And that's this right here. Greatest athlete in the history of Wequakic High is used somewhat in a tongue-in-cheek manner, meaning somewhat sarcastically, facetiously. And we may not pick that up, right? There's a few subtle cues that will tell us that it's been used in this way. But let me point out, let me point out a few of them so you know sort of what to look for in the future, so you know how to pick out that this is being used on the cheek. So the first thing I think is kind of minor, but it's this phrase in here. Well, right? And we can already hear that in our voice. Well, something, something. So the way that that starts is already sort of with a sarcastic tone. It's one of our first indications. Going further is just the contrast between this greatest athlete in the history, right? With the greatest athlete in the history. That's a big laudatory claim. That's a huge title to give someone the greatest athlete in history, right? And then it's in the history of Wequakic High. And nothing against Wequakic High. I don't know anything about the place, if it's a real place or not. If you're from Wequakic, I apologize. But Wequakic High is not a well-known big establishment, right? So it's just like a local high school, right? So to say the greatest athlete in the history of Wequakic High is sort of, there's this contrast there, right? On the one hand, the greatest athlete, yeah, on the other hand, you're the greatest athlete in Wequakic High. So there's that contrast, which is really where the tongue-in-cheek, that's where we get the greatest indication that it's being used tongue-in-cheek. And then the rest is just sort of the context, right? So we know that the narrator is a little bit, he's kind of a little too excited to see a Swede, right? He gets so excited, and yet we're wondering, what's the big deal, right? And they, the rest of them, they kind of make fun of him here, right? They say, "You should have seen your face. You might as well have told us he was Zeus, right? I saw just what you look like as a boy." So just seeing the Swede makes him look almost like a boy, and he's admiring as if he's Zeus, right? The Swede guy. So those three things help us to know in advance this is being used sort of in a tongue-in-cheek manner. Now we can go to the answer choice here. First answer choice says A, admit that the narrator was right about the Swede, right? So I think the only way to interpret this would be to say that the unknown character is saying that by saying that he's the greatest athlete in history of Wequakic High, he's admitting that, what, you're right about this. He is the greatest athlete in history of Wequakic High. And maybe that was true, and maybe this unknown person believes it even, but that's not really the point of what he's saying. The point of what he's saying is to sort of kind of poke fun at the narrator, right, and sort of say this tongue in cheek. So this is not really a good answer. It's not meant too seriously. B says show appreciation for the Swedes' accomplishment. So again, this answer choice fails to capture what's going on here, which is being used using this phrase in a funny way, in a humorous way, in a tongue-in-cheek way. He's not really trying to show appreciation for the accomplishments and be like, "Wow, he really is the greatest athlete." That's not what's going on here. You can eliminate that. C, tease the narrator for his enthusiasm in meeting the Swede. Seems like the best option because tease is what he's doing, right? He's sort of poking fun out of him, saying that the greatest athlete in the history of Wequakic High. Wow, big deal, right? He's teasing them for that enthusiasm. So this seems like a good option choice. And then D says help the narrator remember an incident involving the Swede. This one also is incorrect because there's no incident that this would make him think of, right? This is sort of just generally saying who was the greatest athlete in the history of Wequakic High. He's not talking about a particular incident that happened. So even if this wasn't being used in a tongue-in-cheek way, it couldn't be reminding the narrator of a specific incident because it doesn't reference them. So that leaves us with answer choice C as our option.